Hello, what's up? How's it going? Today we're doing a live build of the webflow.com homepage. Just the hero section, not the whole homepage. And it's right here, this, webflow.com. We are going to build this scroll interaction, this beautiful, nice, scaling, fading asset section of this page. And we're also going to look at this fixed nav bar. Look how this fixed nav bar comes in and out. We're going to start inside Webflow Designer with a little bit already completed. So we are built here. I'm going to just quickly go over what we have, and I'll give a zoom in. Here we have the first client first structure, of course. We started from the client first v2 clonable, and we have our nav component. Look at this nav folder. Inside the nav folder, we have the nav logo, the nav menu, our nav links, and our nav CTAs wrapper. Then right under that, we have our announcement component. This is a link, just a simple static div that is going to announce the Webflow Conf sold out tickets. And then under that, we have another nav component. And this one we're putting inside the static subfolder just to separate it from what I see as the main primary nav. So this is the primary nav. This is going to have a lot of the links. Look at this here, right? This is the real good stuff. And then up here, this is just a onload type nav. So we're calling that nav static, and we'll look at that structure quickly as well. Nav underscore static underscore component to put it in that static folder. And if I keep going further, you'll see that we continue to use the nav static. Now look at this really nice use of just the nav folder. Just because all of these other elements are in the static subfolder doesn't mean we also have to put every element in the component in there. So this is just nav, and it's sharing exactly the same logo as the primary. Nav logo. And then when we have a variant or a different thing from the primary, we put it in the static folder. Okay, now we will look at folders really quick. Of course, let's just make sure that we're understanding what we just went over. And if I look inside this folder structure, we have our announcement. Great. I'll zoom out actually. Announcement with some components here, with some elements. We have our nav. So look at the primary nav. And then we have our static. So I'll zoom out here. The static has just a few elements that are a little bit different. We want to organize them a little different and keep them separate from the primary nav. If we had more navs in the project, maybe there were 4 or 5 or 6 different navs, we could have different folders for everything. Nav underscore static, nav underscore primary, nav underscore everything. First thing, we have this fairly simple text section, and we will go and build that. We have a nice H1 here, some paragraph text, and a button. Excellent. So let me go in here and start with a nice section. This is going to be our section underscore home hero. Inside that, you know that we'll put our padding global, and then let's go and put a container large in there. That's the container size that we have all throughout this nav visual. And then inside that container large, I'm going to go and start with a custom class of home hero. And this is going to be, let's call this the top row. This will be the top row. And then under here, maybe we call this bottom row. I don't know if I like that, but for now, this is going to be the top row. So here at the top row, and let's go and put this H1 in here. Let's go and put a div block to hold that paragraph text and the button. And I'll go and put this paragraph text in along with a button. So I can go link block. I will go text block. And let's add some of the text here. We have view dashboard. We have the button primary. Cool. View dashboard. And now let's apply some sizing to this. So I'll do a flex here. I think this is pretty flexy. And we'll go justify on the ends. Let's go and add this text. The site you want without the dev time. That is so true. Cool. Let me zoom out so we're not on this super, super small size. And let's go and create a little bit of gap between these first. So this looks like a fairly large gap here, but we're also justifying to the ends. So it's not that important. The gap value here is just going to be where we want this to start touching each other and making a smaller on both sides. So let's go gap of, we'll just do 4 rem for now. And for this top row, let's align these to the bottom. We can't forget our button class here on this button. And I will put a spacing block for sure in between these, as well as make this paragraph larger. So let's start with the spacing block. We have a padding bottom, and we have, let's do, maybe this is a padding small. Yeah, seems about right, but let's just do medium for fun. Much more fun. Okay, let's go with the text size medium. Seems a little bit larger. And there we go. Okay, looking good. We have a little bit of this coming over the edge here. Let me see if I can apply a little bit more margin column. So now I'm at 4 rem. Let's do the 5 rem, and this looks great. Nice. I'm going to maybe apply a little bit of space here. And I think we can do that really well with a spacing section class. So I'll go right inside of this container large and drag this home hero in here to do a section padding small. And I'll zoom in for you. This is super zoom right here. Cool. Padding section small. We got a little space here. Awesome. All right, now what we've all been waiting for. Easy stuff's done. Let's get into this magic. First, I'll have to say, Webflow team, great job with this animation. Really cool, really interesting, and also really simple and lightweight, which is really good for animation that looks awesome. So let's go and do this. I'm now going to create in the same section here. I'm going to continue in this. There's no reason to break this here. So I'm going to go right in here in this container large. There's no reason to add more container large and padding in here. And we're still in the home hero. So let's go in here and let's call this the home hero. The home hero scroll. I'm going to call it the scroll wrapper for now. We're going to create a base first. And this base is going to hold all of the elements that we see in this view. So this wrapper is going to be this base. It's going to have all of these images that we're seeing, as well as these images that we're seeing. And that is exactly what this scroll wrapper is for. Let me add a little bit of margin bottom here so I can see what's going on. Let's do 100 viewport height so we can scroll past this. So we have our home hero scroll wrapper, and in this, I'm going to do home hero image wrapper. This image wrapper is going to catch all of the images. So look how when we scroll through this, it is scaling down, right? We have this scale effect. That's what we're going to apply to this. This will be scaling. And then all the images will be inside of it. And the images will be opacity 100% to 0% as we're scrolling through the trigger. So this holds the images, scales them down, and rotates the images. These items will be outside of this. They will be inside the scroll wrapper. So first, let's go and hit this image wrapper. I'm going to apply a position of relative because these images will be stacked on top of each other and they will be absolute. So let's go and do that. Image here, and I've added some images. We're going to use Finsweet developed websites for these images, just because, yeah, I just wanted to use Finsweet built images. We're redoing our portfolio, so I had all these assets ready to go. So we will go and we'll put a class on this. It's going to be home hero, and it's going to be a custom class so that we can target it specifically with z-index and with interactions. I could do this, but I'm not going to. I could do home hero image, and I can do is something, is one, or is first. I can do this. I'm not going to do it because I find it a lot more difficult to see this interaction inside the interactions panel. So when we go and we actually put all this interaction together, it's going to be just a little bit more difficult to manage this instead of this. So a little change, it's a UX improvement in my opinion when using Webflow interactions. So I will go and do this. First, we'll call this one second, and we'll call this one third. So each one of these is going to get a position absolute to fill, absolute to fill, and absolute to fill. So this is the downside. What I just did was the downside of applying separate classes. However, not that bad, right? That didn't take very long at all. So let's go. First is going to have a z-index of 3, second's going to have a z-index of 2, and the third will have a z-index of 1. And that way we can stack them on top of each other. So here we will have our first image. We've already applied it. For the second one, we're going to do this one. And for the third one, we'll have our accidentally pixelated one. And there we go. So just to make sure that we're doing this, can I do a little preview here? Yeah, see, we have this other graphic behind here. So it's just chilling back here. It's waiting to do something. And that's exactly what we're going to do with it with Webflow interactions. Okay, nice. All right, looking good. And I think we want a little bit more of this here. Let's just apply a lot more. We also have to establish some space with this. So I'm going to apply a height. We have to establish some height because these are set to absolute. When you have something set to absolute, it doesn't establish a height. So if you need height, if height's important, which it is in a vertical scrolling animation, we need to go and apply that somewhere. So I'm going to do it to this image wrapper. This is going to be our official height. And let's call this 80 viewport height here. We'll do the 80 viewport height and we will do overflow none. Cool. So let's jump in here to the scroll wrapper. And inside this scroll wrapper, I'm going to put our trigger. We could apply the trigger right here, right? We're going to apply a trigger so that when we scroll through this section, this works, this animates. However, I usually like to apply it to a separate element so that we can add things and change. We can add size properly and flex in a flexible way. We can add margins, we can add transforms, we can add whatever we want. So that's exactly what I will do. I'll go in here, add a new div block, and this will be a home, hero, scroll, trigger. Let us give this a height of, let's say 150 viewport height. And normally I would give this a 0 pixel. normally. But for this stream right now, I'm going to give this a 0.5 rem, and I'm going to give it a color so that we can see this in action, right? We want to actually see this working. We want to see how this scroll trigger interacts. So we'll just put a temporary color with a temporary width so we can go and see that. Awesome. Before we jump into interactions, before we start using this as our trigger, I'm going to first add the sticky. So we want this scroll wrapper, and you know what? I'm actually going to rename this to sticky wrapper. I knew I'd have a change of heart here. This is going to be our sticky wrapper. It's the element that stays sticky on the page. And we will go and stickify it. Cool. Let's see, maybe a 10 rem. Oh, yes. Okay. We're going to have one more layer in here. Give me 1 second. I need to jump in here, container large, section. So I'm going to call this the home hero bottom section. Excellent. Okay, so the home hero bottom section will go here. This will stick in here, and we're going to apply a relative here. Oh, and we need to make sure this has the sticky applied. 10 rem. Hey, why am I not sticking? What's going on here? Oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. A little bit high, but yeah, the problem here was I accidentally put the scroll trigger inside the sticky section. So the element that had the sticky was the browser thought it was really, really big, so it never actually got sticking. So this is now outside, and there we go. Okay. Let's do a 4 rem here. Okay, we're back on track. Confirmed. Okay, we're going to give this a temporary position of 99, right? I just want to see this scroll trigger because when we go into Webflow interactions, this is what we are going to see. So look at this. We have, let's zoom out here to see this, how it's supposed to be. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And then it sticks. Great. And then we're going to go and animate through this scroll trigger. Cool. All right. And we're going to go and take this scroll trigger and start putting some animations in here. So let's go and apply element trigger while scrolling in view. And the while scrolling in view, we're going to put a class for this. I'm going to play that scroll animation, and the scroll animation will be called the home hero sticky. I'm going to call it the sticky portfolio. Cool. So we are going to animate first this home hero image wrapper. This is going to do a scale. That's the first thing that we see here. Notice how when we are going down, we're seeing this entire section scale down, scale down, scale down, scale down. So let's go and do that. We're going to scale. We'll start this at 1, full size. And then, is it at 100 or does it stop scaling before the end? It looks like it stops scaling. I don't see any more scaling beyond this point. So let's call this maybe like 80%. And we're going to scale down to 0.8. Seems even a bit big here. Let's do a 0.85. We'll keep linear, all elements, great. So let's do a quick live preview of that. We're going to scroll, scroll, scroll. Let's see that trigger here. See, we have our trigger, cool. And there we go. We got some great scaling going on. Now, the next thing we're going to do after this scale is we're going to change the images inside. And as you remember from earlier, we have simply stacked these, or they are siblings. We have our image first, image second, and image third. You'll see how nice it is to use these classes instead of the combo class approach. So let's see, maybe let's try something here. Hey, image first. Let's do a 20%. We'll do opacity starting at 100, and then opacity down to 0. Right, it's pretty quick. There's just a little bit of a fade, a nice, beautiful little fade. So let's try 2. Let's see what that looks like. Going down. Oh, yeah. Nice. Let's see what 21 looks like. Okay, now let's do the same thing for the second one. So we scroll down a little bit more, a little bit more. Let's say at, I don't know, 45. Or maybe we should keep these 20s. Let's try 40. At 40, we're going to take not the first one, we're changing that target to the second one. Oh, and look at this. My whole naming thing doesn't even apply here. Too long. We're going to continue. This needs to change target, though, to the second one. Right, this is the first, this is the second, and then we go and apply at 42, the opacity, change. So here we have 100. This goes down to 0. So this should be really what we're looking for, but let's confirm. I'll save that. I'll go in preview mode, and let's see from the top. We're scrolling down, scaling out, fading out. Love it, love it, love it. Awesome. Nailed it. Cool. Yeah, that's it. It looks like there's a fade out here. Look how this screen's going a little bit white, and we're going a little bit darker. So we'll plan on this scroll interaction to just fade out at the end. Maybe after the scaling, we'll start this fade out. So let's go in the navigator. Let's choose the right section here. I'll go with the bottom section. And I'll go here. Let's start at 81, and we'll fade. Opacity 100 to 0. And this should fade out everything for us. So let's see that. I'm scrolling down. It's changing. Great. Little bit more fade, and then we're scrolling out. But it looks like maybe this should be at a 90. So now it's a little bit of a quicker fade here. Nice. And we're faded out. That looks great. Cool. So we're at a pretty good spot for this animation. I'm liking this. And I'm loving our red scroll trigger. Totally clear how things are moving here and stopping and starting. Cool. All right. Now, before we go on to this section, I want to add something white down here, just so that we can see the end of the section. If I applied any spacing or padding before, we're now going to remove that because we're now ready for this section. So we have a huge viewport height here. We have nothing here. Cool. So let's go put a brand new section in here. This is going to be the section logo row, I think it was. But we're not going to build this. We're just applying a bit of size here so we can see that there is a new section coming. Great. There we go. So this is our logo row. Now we know that we have to apply a little bit of padding bottom to this. So I can do that. I think I'm going to do that right here. I'm going to do it on the bottom section here because it's really anything vertical related is really important for these scrolling interactions. So I want to keep the vertical on the vertical scrolling section. And with that, we'll do let's call it 6 rems. This probably looks right. Let's check. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Nice. Great. Okay, so we'll just confirm that we're still good with these updates. Love it, love it, love it. Sweet. And we definitely want to here. Let's just do this section black nothing. This will be 100 rem. There we go. So now we see the section, we see additional scrolling, and now we can really continue working on this animation. Okay, next. The next thing we have here is these items, these elements. So the way we're going to do this is 2 separate layers. One layer above the image wrapper, one layer behind the image wrapper. So let's go and see what that can mean for us. So here we have our hero image wrapper. This is just wrapping the images here. We have our sticky wrapper. It has to fit within the sticky wrapper. So I will go and apply a home hero you know what? And now I would probably, after I'm done with this, or maybe during the stream, I would want to rename some of this to be a little bit more clear now that we have the sections down. And that's totally okay to build a complex section, not really know the exact naming, just working, and then going back and saying, based on this, how can I rename this to make a lot of sense? So I'm going to call this the UI wrapper top. UI wrapper top. And just so we have it, this is going to be the UI wrapper bottom, but we won't do that right now. So the UI wrapper top, yeah, actually, let's do the UI wrapper bottom. I'm going to do a duplicate of this. I'm going to hit this with the bottom, and the top will have the top at a Z index of 3, the image wrapper at a Z index of 2, and the bottom Z index of 1. I think it's a lot more appropriate to call this back and front. Cool. Back and front. Let's now go and actually apply absolute here. This needs to be absolute, and this needs to be absolute. We're going right above this. And now you can see kind of the value of, applying these layers, just knowing where we want to catch things that are absolute, how things are organized. I feel good about this. So let's go and add an image here. We're going to add an image, and it's going to be the client first icon, right? Yeah. So we're going to call this the icon, home hero. UI icon. This will be a background color of white so we can see what's going on. And I'll call this a width of 3 rem. Let's do 6 rem for visibility. Cool. I don't have the assets for this. It's not really important for the stream. I just want to show the idea of above, behind, and then animating these things separately as needed. Now we'll switch to the combo class strategy, just to show the 2 different ways. So here I have applied custom classes for each. And now we're going to look at the combo class strategy, because for this implementation, they're all going to be the same size. I'm not going to have different size items. So is 1, making a whole bunch of copies of these, and we're going to do 2, and then is 3. I will move these around. I'm not going to place them in the exact locations. You can do this if you'd like, but I'm just going to move things around so that you can see them in action. And then this one, let's do absolute here on top, and this one's going to be way up here. Yeah, looks nice. Cool. So this is our top row. Now let's go and do this on the bottom or the back row. I'll copy one of these in, and we're just going to continue the same naming here. Let's go is 4. I think we have one down here. And I'll do one more. You should probably, let me see what I'm doing here. Yeah. So this is behind it, right? This is what we're testing, above and behind. And I'll do one more. Oh, we already have one. 5. Cool. And there we go. Cool. So we have a whole bunch of things above and below. You'll see that this is not finished yet, of course, but we have our above and below items. Wonderful. Now let's get into this scroll trigger interaction, and let's go apply some really important styles here, or scroll triggers. So let's go and we can just pick them. And throughout this, we can just say this is 0. Let's do this at 25 and at 26. This will go up to 100. 3, 0. 0 to 100. So we can see as we're scrolling, cool, this one shows up. Cool. We can also apply the move effects. We can apply any of these kinds of effects. I mean, it could take an hour just to perfect all of these movements, but you can see there's a slight fade in, there's some move up. So we can do that same thing. We can move, we can go, this is a 2 rem, and this will move up to a 0 rem. So we can see this nice move in effect. A little bit choppy here, but yeah, nice. There we go. So I'm not going to go and apply this to every single one of these, but based on how this is set up, Home Hero U icon is 3, is 2, is 1, all of these things, I can go and apply any of these steps in this scroll trigger. I can animate them in any way. I can scale them, move them, opacity, whatever. Like I said, it will take a lot of time just to do all these little things. My goal was to just show you the structure and how you would approach this. So scrolling in, nice, nice, nice. See, this is exactly what we're looking for. And then the whole thing will fade out. And you know what? Actually, before we move to the nav, let me look at the naming here. Now, general renaming. Home Hero, we have the bottom section, sticky wrapper, UI wrapper front, image wrapper, image first, second, third. We have the wrapper front, wrapper back, UI wrapper back, UI icon. These are pretty well named. I do like this. And I'm going to call this the sticky scroll trigger. All right. Yeah, I'm actually happy with this naming. I think it came out well. Okay, now showing and hiding of this nav. Let's see what we have here. What's happening? As we scroll down, this is coming into view as this is leaving the view. Coming into view as it's leaving. So it looks like just about as it leaves, a little bit earlier, coming in. First thing I want to do is I want to make this fixed because that's exactly what this is. This is fixed on the page. So I'll go and do that with fixed with this nice top option. So this is how it will look after it has been triggered. Let's go and make this the trigger. We could do a separate trigger here, but this one kind of feels right to choose the element because when this goes out of view, that's when this thing happens. Let's go in here and do an element trigger scroll into view. Nice. We'll hit this on the class. We'll start an animation and we're going to call this let's say universal nav. Well, let's do hide first. I'm going to do hide first because that's the initial state. Hide navigation. And we are going to go to this nav component up here, and we're going to do an action of move set initial state of negative 100%. This is taking the size of the element, 100% of it, and moving it exactly 100% up. And that will perfectly put it out of view. So if you see that we have 80, you can see it sticking out just a little bit. So we do 100 to make it completely out of the viewport. And this is the initial state. I'm also not going to do siblings with this class. I'm doing all elements with this class. Great. And then this is the hide. Wait, hold on. Which one are we? Scrolled into view, right? So when this is scrolling into view, we are hiding, correct? And we're going to go to this nav again, and the nav component will do this same thing. Negative 100%, right? The static nav comes into view. We don't want to see the primary nav. So I will do this. Let's do a 0.2. Wow, I haven't played with these in a long time. I'm going to hit the incant. Yeah, great. And now scrolled out of view. Now when this leaves us, goodbye, that's when we want to see this. So I'll do a new animation and I'll do a fresh one here. This will be the universal nav. This will be show nav. Cool. And for that one, we'll do the same thing. Select the nav, and this will move to a 0%, which is what we see right here. And we'll do this. And what do we do? I'll do the opposite of that. Cool. All right. Now, did it work? Away. Okay. Let's scroll through it and see. Nice. I don't see it. I see it. Wow. Smooth. So we're starting here. We're doing our zoom out. Yeah, this is working great. Nice. Okay, anything that we can do to improve this? You know what we can do? Let's do a little bit of a client satisfaction thing. So this is a problem for a lot of clients, how we have it exactly right here, because they can't edit the announcement bar, right? The announcement bar is hidden. So if I were to go and say, well, then I can just apply not a transition. I can apply a transform of negative 100 here and hide it, and now they can edit the announcement. Well, now they can't edit the component. So now you have to film a video to show, well, you have to toggle this off to edit things and do things. And that could work, but there may be some clients that you just don't want to do that, they just want to see everything. So let's go through a workflow that we can use so that they can see both of these items. I will go and apply one element to the page here. This element is going to be the nav. I'll put it in the nav folder. This will be the nav spacer for client. Has it right there. And let's give this a 4 rem, which is the size of this. So this nav component, 4 rem, nice. Let's go nav spacer for client, 4 rem. Now we can see everything, right? This is great. So in Designer, in Editor, the client can now see everything and edit everything. The problem is this is what we have on the published site, which obviously we do not want. So what we can do is go into our item. We'll go into this hide, and we will just add this spacer with an initial value of hidden. So I'll hit the spacer, I'll go and hide it, set as initial state to display none. So now in Designer, in Editor, I get to view this exactly how I want. I can edit this, I can edit this, there's no problems. And then when I go and actually preview or publish, this is going to work for us. Cool. So this is a way to get people a little bit happier with Webflow when editing, just making more changes less difficult. So this is something that I may implement for a situation like this. Let's publish and let's see what this looks like actually on the published page. Let's see the published page. Nice. And there we go. This works. Cool. Zooming out. Love it. Great. And yeah, let's just make sure that this was working. Oh, what was this? Oh, okay. This is working. It's just moving up a little bit too much. But you can see the top corner here. This is working. Nice. Okay. Done. Wow. I love it. And I will say, I think these client first logos are just ruining everything. Let's just look at this without, I'll hide them for now. I'll hide and I'll hide. Let's now, I'll do another padding bottom. Let's do a medium here, a little bit more space. And I think I wanted just a little bit more space here on top. So let's make this viewport height based. Oh yeah, that's way too much. All right. Let's see what that looks like. And we'll just confirm we are equally as cool. Oh yes, that's what we're talking about. Nice and centered. Oh yeah, without those icons. Wow, I love it. And if you like this video, please give a thumbs up. If you got any value from this, if you learned something, thumbs up it, really helps us. Share it with a friend. Use something and tell us about it. If you use something in this live build, send us a tweet. Let us know. That's really cool. We'd love that.